White tigers, part 1. These are the 3 topics I'm going to go over today. They're very common misconceptions. People believe them to be facts about white tigers. They're really not. And the first is that white tigers are albino. The second is that white tigers are an endangered species. And the third is that white tigers live in snowy areas where the white coat would help as camouflage. None of these are true, but first I'll start off with the idea that white tigers are albino. They're actually leucistic, and I'll explain what that means in a minute. But first we need to know what albinism is so that we can be absolutely sure that they're not albino. Albinism is a genetic condition that interferes with the production of pigment in the animal cells. So this means that they have no color whatsoever, not in their hair, their skin, their internal tissues as well, nothing. No color. So we know this isn't true of white tigers because white tigers have pigment in their colored stripes, their blue eyes, and in their internal tissues too. So now we know they're not albino, but what are they? White tigers are actually leucistic, and leucism is kind of tricky to understand. It's when the skin cannot fully support pigment. I'm going to say that again because it's really important to understand. Leucism is when the skin cannot fully support pigment. So the pigment is there. They have the ability to make pigment. That's the opposite of albino. They can't make it at all. Leucism can make pigment, but you just can't keep it. You can't really hold on to it, if that makes sense. So, and this is only in the skin. So leucism is a genetic condition in the skin cells themselves. They're not fully capable of holding on to pigment, but they can hold on to some. So a lot of animals can get this, and it causes them to be really weird, pale colors. And this is what makes white tigers white. Now you can see in the stripes that the leucism is there too. Their stripes aren't actually black, they're brown. We know they're supposed to be black, but black is just so strong that you're never going to get rid of that completely. But the leucism can dilute it a little bit, and that's what makes it a little off. Now, only Bengal tigers are susceptible to leucism. So anyone who thinks they own a white Siberian tiger, yeah, they're wrong. There's never been a recorded case of any other subspecies or any other type of tiger getting this condition. So you've got a Bengal tiger, and if they have leucism, they're going to be a white tiger. If they don't have leucism, they're going to be an orange tiger. Which leads me really nicely into my next topic, which is that the idea that white tigers are an endangered species. They're really not. White tigers are the same species as the ordinary tigers, orange. They just have this genetic deformity. I really like this picture. If you want to pause the video here and just take a closer look, feel free. But these are the 6 different subspecies of tiger that are alive today. There are actually 2 that went extinct. But here they are. There's Bengal, Siberian, Sumatran, Malayan, Indo-Chinese, and South China. And the Siberian, just fun fact, is also known as the Amur tiger, but since I can't really pronounce Amur, I'm just going to call them Siberians. So, there's an issue with this though, because a lot of white tigers being hybrids is just, that's completely artificial. People have done that to them. And the reason is that Siberian tigers are way bigger. They're weigh 100 pounds more, which is a small child. That's a person. They're a lot bigger than the Bengal tigers, but the Bengal tigers are the ones that have the white gene. So if you want this really big, powerful, impressive tiger for your circus or your zoo, then you also want them to be white. Just combine the 2, and it's a great idea, they thought at the time. So we've got a lot of white tigers out there that are actually part Bengal tiger and part Siberian. Go figure. Here's a really cool picture that shows the difference, but you can also use the subspecies profiles as well. You can see that the Siberian is bigger. They're actually paler too because they live in a different region, and the Bengal tiger just generally sleeker, shorter fur, a little bit darker. Just, I'm not a tiger expert, I don't know all the differences, but those are the ones that I can see and that I've learned in my research. Okay, moving on to the white coat being helpful in a snowy habitat. That really does seem like it would make sense, which is probably why the rumor spread so nicely, but it's really not true. I mean, Bengal tigers, we already know that they live in India. India, there's no snow in India unless you're on like a mountain or something. But the main substantial part of the habitat is one of these, and I'll list them off. Tropical rainforest, that's not snowy. Forest, grassland, or mangrove swamp. And not only these are the places where the tigers live, but this is where their prey lives. They can't just go to the snowy top of the mountain and live there because they're white. They have to be where the prey is, and I think that's something a lot of people overlook. And speaking of overlooking things, I forgot to mention that Bengal-Siberian hybrids would never exist in the wild. I'll show you a range map in a sec. Here we go. Bengal tigers live in India. Siberian tigers live in Russia. No way they would ever come across each other. They just doesn't happen. So this is why being a hybrid is so unnatural. Okay, camouflage. This is a really important thing to have in the wild, both for adult tigers and cubs. The cubs need camouflage, they need protection from predators or even prey animals that would want to kill a tiger cub, because not many animals or people in the wild, for that matter, like tiger cubs. They're doing it to protect themselves, but the cubs need that safety shield, I guess. And the reason they have vertical stripes, which is really cool, I thought, was that it breaks up their body shape. So you can't clearly see the outline of a tiger. You see sort of a tiger. It sort of looks like a cat, but just the lines just make you confused. Like, well, yeah. So, and it also helps with, the shading, and especially if they're in long grass, it's just really helpful to have those stripes. And then the colors black and orange. They really blend much better than white and brown. They blend a lot better into the foliage, and especially when you take into consideration that the animals they're hunting don't really have as good a vision as we do. We have particularly excellent vision, but animals not so much. Here are my pictures. My pretty orange tigers. Really the only one that stands out here is against the green foliage, but again, that's our vision that's doing that. We can see these obviously, but an animal, they would probably just see grass, or it might take them a minute, and that's the minute that the tiger needs to be able to catch prey. So white tigers surviving in the wild, it just doesn't happen. I mean, every single sighting, every tiger that was hunted in the wild that was white was a cub. It was a little baby. It hadn't grown up yet. And since we've never seen them reach adulthood in the wild, it makes sense to believe that the white coat is a hindrance to them. We've got our statistic, 1 in 10,000 wild tigers is naturally white. That's not that many. And since there are only 3,000 tigers left in the wild, there's just 0.3%. Yeah, no. There's no white tigers in the wild. We haven't seen them for 50 years since we took the last one. And we probably won't see them again until we've got like 20,000 tigers in the wild again. It's just a very small percentage. So they're not in the wild, they're definitely in captivity. We've got couple hundred white tigers, give or take, in the world, and they're all in zoos or circuses. Actually, they might be owned by someone a lot richer than me, but nonetheless, they're in captivity. Rescue organizations would never release them into the wild because it just wouldn't be fair to them. They are easily spotted by prey. They'd starve to death. It would be a very cruel thing to do, to release a white tiger into the wild. So, white tigers are destined to spend their entire lives in captivity. Just to recap, white tigers are not albino, they're leucistic. They are not a species or separate subspecies of tiger at all. They are Bengal tigers with the genetic condition leucism, and they currently don't exist in the wild, but when they did, it definitely was not in the snow. So thank you so much for listening/watching. Please go see part 2. I've got some more white tiger facts if you're interested. Visit my website, animalethicsri.weebly.com. And like the Facebook page. I strongly encourage that. Okay, thanks. Bye.